Hello, I'm Peter Allen. I've been working on the all-iron battery for 8 years now. That feels wild to me. I'm happy to announce that version 3.0 is now published. The paper is absolutely Deepak Kwarla's work more than mine. The newest incarnation of the iron battery is significantly more powerful than previous versions. It can completely discharge in about 10 hours, so that's still slow compared to a commercial lithium-ion battery, but now it's in a practical range. To get there, we did three major changes. We added a commercial membrane instead of our own homebrew, improved the electrolyte and paste material by a little change in the synthesis, and we added soluble electrochemical mediators, which I will describe more below. But first, a catch-up. In 2017, I started this science YouTube channel. Folks are pretty interested in batteries, and I thought that would be fun to make something accessible, maybe a do-it-yourself style battery or something a little more advanced than the classic lemon cell demonstration. But I wanted to make something that was actually cheap and rechargeable that would demonstrate the principles. And I was really inspired by David Sadoway's TED Talk about the Ambry liquid metal battery. He started with the highest abundance materials he could find in the Earth's crust, and then he worked backwards from there to build a high-performance energy storage system. He ended up making a battery where the positive and negative electrode materials were made of molten metal at about 500 degrees Celsius or 900 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, it's not exactly garage friendly, and it requires special care even in like a university laboratory where I was working at the time. So I tried to come up with a battery chemistry that was made of the same kind of highly abundant materials, but was DIY and garage friendly, but relax the performance requirements. Iron is very abundant. Iron battery electrodes have existed for 100 years, as in the Edison cell, which uses iron at the negative electrode and nickel at the positive. But nickel is relatively expensive and it's not as highly abundant. So I thought, well, iron can exist as a metal and ferrous or ferric ions. That's 0, +2, and +3, respectively. And I figured it should be possible to make a battery with iron for the positive and negative electrode, hence all iron. Iron is fantastically cheap. It's not very toxic and it's fairly stable. The problem is that stability means that it doesn't store a lot of energy and intends to transfer that energy rather slowly. Could that work for a stationary backup battery? So that question turned into a crowd-funded project in the summer of 2017, where a talented undergraduate student named Nico Jensen put together the first working version of the chemistry. As expected, the performance was limited. It'd take something like the size of a car battery to power a decent flashlight, but it proved the principle that you could use iron chemistry at the positive and the negative side, and that it could be recharged. We've been through many iterations since then, and I'm happy to announce that it is much more usable now. My former student, Dr. Deepak Kwarla, had a fantastic insight. We need to find mobile, soluble molecules to carry charge into and out of that stable, slow iron. He found two cheap chemicals, ABTS and Viologen, that can do the job at the positive and negative electrode respectively, and we call those mediators. With those added mediators and some optimization of the electrolyte and a commercial separator membrane, we are now in the range of a practical battery. Still not as powerful as a commercial cell, but a big battery could deliver all of its energy in hours rather than days. So if you built a household backup battery, you could actually use it to run your house. The energy density for the new battery is about 11 watt-hours per liter. For reference, that would require about 2,000 liters to run a typical household for a day. In terms of power, a battery that large could supply a peak of about 50 kilowatts, so it'd be adequate for a house. And that's an improvement of about 100 times over Iron Battery 2.0, and more than 1,000 times better than Iron Battery 1.0. Still about 30 times worse than a lithium iron phosphate battery, but it has some advantages for stationary storage. It's non-toxic, it's non-flammable, and again, everything's abundant. All this relates to a blog post I wrote about 20 years ago, speculating that solar and storage could match a typical baseload power plant for price, so match coal or nuclear or hydroelectric, if storage got low enough. Baseload power sells for about 11 cents per kilowatt hour in cheap regions, and you can buy electricity from big solar farms for like 2 cents per kilowatt hour. So if your battery can store it and then deliver it again for less than 9 cents, you can compete. And the back of the envelope math says that we're starting to get kind of close. This is not a total cost accounting, just a quick estimate, but it gives you the idea. If your active materials and membrane cost something like $50 per kilowatt hour, and they last 1,000 cycles, then you divide that $50 per kilowatt hour by like 1,000 to get an idea of the cost per storage per cycle. And it gets about 5 cents per kilowatt hour delivered. Now, if the battery only lasts 250 cycles, then it's more like 20 cents per kilowatt hour delivered before you have to replace your battery. The actual battery looks like it could handle something like between 250 and 1,000 cycles, depending on how we estimate. So we're in the right ballpark for this kind of energy arbitrage application. That leaves out a lot of details. How big are the parasitic losses? How much do assembly, maintenance, and recycling cost? But this suggests that solar and batteries are on the right order of magnitude to provide baseload 24/7 renewable electricity at a competitive rate. And I think that's pretty exciting. So I started this project because I wanted to contribute a little bit to the big global project of sustainable energy. This publication is the end of the line for this project for me. I've moved on from the university. Dr. Kwarla has graduated. I'm delighted to get this to a good stopping point. Technology is ready for others to pick it up and use it however they want. We did our best to document all the details so that anyone could duplicate and expand the work without having to reinvent anything. I'm happy to get this published in HardwareX. It's an open source hardware journal and it's open access, so there's no subscriptions or anything like that to read it. You can download it right now. Link is in the description. And the instructions are as comprehensive as we could make them, and the assembly video I made some years ago is still perfectly applicable. If you've followed the iron battery here on YouTube over the years, thank you. It means a lot to me that you were interested and involved. If you supported the 27 crowdfunding effort, you have my gratitude forever. It was a real honor that people cared enough about this project to share their resources. And it meant that my student got to have a full summer of uninterrupted work in the lab, which I know made a difference in his career. So going forward, this channel is going to be changing. I've updated very infrequently. My responsibilities at the startup where I work have expanded. To be clear, all content of this YouTube channel represents my own effort. It does not represent the views or opinions of my employer. When I do have time to update, it will probably be more about my interest in aging biology and longevity research and scientific funding, and maybe even the American politics surrounding science and scientific progress. So if that's it, that's the end of the line for you, and it's time to unsubscribe. I totally understand. No hard feelings. Thank you again for all of your time and attention.